Kai Havertz, and let's slip the dogs of war. Bit of Shakespeare for you there. Anyway, yes, hello everybody, Adam Cleary from FourFourTwo here, and by the time you watch this video, Kai Havertz will almost certainly be an Arsenal player, which is weird. But this has been rumbling on for a while, and I've already watched a couple of videos where it looks at how Kai Havertz is such a perfect fit for what Mikel Arteta wants, and how he's going to slot seamlessly into this side. But we were talking about it in the 442 office, and everybody's missed something. There is one thing that Kai Havertz does really, really well that this Arsenal team currently does not really do at all. And I think that might be the real reason Mikel Arteta wants him. So right, so we covered this extensively in the Declan Rice video, which will be here or in the description or somewhere for your viewing pleasure, but just to quickly go over it, this is how Arsenal play. It's a 4-3-3, except no, it's not, of course, because they have one midfielder sits there, the fullback, usually Zinchenko, inverts into the middle, they shuffle across into a back three, and they end up with this box midfield. And if I have to say box midfield one more time this year, I'm gonna go mad. But whatever, the important thing about it for this video is that it leaves Arsenal with these two players here. They have two number 8s. Now, one of them, as Arsenal fans well know, is Martin Ødegaard. He is a creative presence. He is a goal threat. He can make things happen. He contributes to a lot of good things for Arsenal in the final third. And the other is, of course, Granit Xhaka, who has done a very good job in that role, but is very much just doing a job in that role. That's where you can make an upgrade. Now, the reason they want Declan Rice is because if you put him in this midfield instead of Thomas Partey, that relieves everybody else of a little bit of defensive responsibility. They haven't got to be as worried about the space. They haven't got to work as hard to win the ball back. He will up their levels of doing that, so everyone else can have a little bit more fun going forward. And while Kai Havertz can play as a centre-forward in this system, he's been a false 9 for Chelsea for most of his time there, it makes sense that he would be the man to replace Ødegaard. This left-sided number 8, allow him to use his technical ability a little bit more. And that really does make sense, because if you look at his numbers as a centre-forward, he's really, really good at every single part of that, except scoring goals. His carries, his touches, his passes, his link-up play, every single thing about being a modern centre-forward, he absolutely excels at. As you can see here, just the one bar at the end of this graph, which is kind of important, is scoring goals, and he's not great at that. But just to be completely fair to Kai Havertz, I would personally argue that that stat looking that bad is as much down to A, him just lacking a little bit of ruthlessness in front of goal, not quite being clinical, but also B, him being a part of that Chelsea team, which was collectively about as bad at finishing as the last season of Game of Thrones. But regardless, his off-the-ball work, which is really, really important to Mikel Arteta, is through the roof, so he can replace Gabriel Jesus in that number 9 position, but also, if you put him in at the number 8, provided you've gone and got Rice or someone in that position, he'll be free to do loads of link-up play, to get into the box, to be a threat, to just do loads of stuff that you naturally think of Kai Havertz as being good at. But of course, this video is not about all the stuff that you naturally think of Kai Havertz as being very good at. Everyone else has covered that. He'd just be a great fit. We all know this. This video is about the stuff that you don't naturally think of Kai Havertz as being brilliant at, and why that is really important for Arsenal. Right, so here we are. I think the real reason Mikel Arteta wants Kai Havertz, let's not forget, one of the most technically proficient, excellent with the ball at his feet centre-forwards in all of Europe, is because headers. Arsenal do not score the number of goals they wish they did from headers, and Kai Havertz is really, really, really good at headers. Just to pick through a few numbers of this, Arsenal were actually in the top 4 teams in the Premier League this season for goals scored from headers. However, all but about 4 of those actually came from set pieces. Now, you probably hear that and think, oh, so Saliba and Gabriel and the defenders got loads of goals. They actually didn't. Most of these were scored by Jesus, Martinelli, and Xhaka. But the thing about set pieces is even if it's not your best headers of the ball scoring the goals, then your best headers of the ball are at least being marked by the other team's best headers of the ball. So it's easier to do. And fundamentally, the reason they were much better at getting these headers from set pieces as they were from open play is because Arsenal just don't put that many crosses into the box. They were in the bottom half of the Premier League table last season for crosses, which might not sound that much of a significant drop off, but if you think they're just ahead of like Wolves and Leeds in terms of like the total number of crosses, like think about how many attacks, how many times Arsenal are in the opposition third, and the fact they're putting in about the same number as teams who attacked way less, who spent loads more of the game defending, shows you what a significant sort of drop off that. You can wrap your head around that, can't you? It's like a percentages thing. It's a proportion thing. It's a proportion. Arsenal's proportion is very small. And I mean, it's a fair one. Like, why would you put crosses in the box? If we just look at Jesus, Martinelli, and Saka's numbers for headers, they're really, really poor at them. That's not what their game is at all. They don't contest them very well, they don't win them very often. It's just, why would you cross it for them? But let us just add, my friends, Kai Havertz numbers to that little chart. Kai Havertz is not just good at headers, he's not just better than Arsenal's current options at headers, he is one of the best players in the Premier League, and I've looked at the rest of the numbers, the rest of Europe, for headers. In fact, of all the non-penalty goals Kai Havertz has scored for Chelsea over the last 2 seasons, all 19 of them, 9 were headers. Nearly half of them were headers. Like, if I asked you to guess, how tall do you think Kai Havertz is? You'd probably say, what, like pushing around 6 foot, something like that? He's 6'4". If you went to the NBA, he'd make a reasonable small forward. And truly, honestly, genuinely, I do think that's why Mikel Arteta is so interested in spending this amount of money on him. Because if you just want something a bit more creative in this number 8 space, if you just want something a little bit more Erdegaard-y, you can play Emile Smith-Rowe. But if you want all of that, like you want the positional play, you want the movement, you want the tactical flexibility, you just want the ball knowledge, you want all of that, and something they don't already have, you want Kai Havertz. He can do every single thing required of this Arsenal attack, every single thing Mikel Arteta wants these players to be comfortable doing, but he can also be another option. Like in the Bukayo Saka video we did this week, which I will put another link to somewhere in case you're interested, I highlighted the goal they got against Southampton, where, short of options, he gets to the byline, puts in a great cutback, and Martinelli does this absolutely fantastic finish. But if we just look at the setup to this goal again, the chances of Arsenal getting something out of the situation are absolutely minuscule. It requires a great bit of play by Saka, a fantastic bit of movement by Martinelli, a finish that's somehow even better, and the two of them just being on the same wavelength enough to make that happen. Realistically, what you would actually want in that situation is, yes, the option to be able to do that, to know that somebody might hold back and keep their own on the penalty area, but also, depending on what the lay of the defenders is when you get to the byline, if you could just lift that up to the back post at the same time, that's much harder to defend against. But the reason Saka cuts it back there is because that's really his only option. If he sticks that up to the back post, Jesus is never going to win that ball in a million years. But now imagine it's Kai Havertz, who wins 97% of the balls he goes up to try and win. And I know I'm using an example of them scoring a goal here, which is obviously not ideal, but you can imagine, can't you, if they got into this position and it all clicked absolutely perfectly for them to finish, how many times were they getting into similar situations where the best ball to play would be something lofted into the box and just could not do that? Lots, I would think. And one final point to address, because I know exactly what I would be putting in the comments. Yes, it is probably debatable that Kai Havertz has flopped at Chelsea. Certainly where his reputation was when they bought him, pretty much seen as like the best young prospect in all of Europe, to where he is now, he has not lived up to that. But can we all just agree, based on these examples and several others, that just because it doesn't work at Chelsea doesn't mean it ain't gonna work? And just one final point, in case you're watching this thinking, wow, Adam, what great insight. You must have this really big, veiny, bumpy, not smooth at all footballing brain. I can actually take zero credit for this idea whatsoever. That must all go to 442 heavyweight and Arsenal genius Mark White, who, if you're not following already, you should do. Anyway, though, that's just what I, and by I mean the collective 442 hive mind, think about Kai Havertz going to Arsenal and why Mikel Arteta might be rubbing his little hands at the prospect. Interested, of course, to know what you think, so please do get that in the comments below. And if you haven't already subscribed to 442 here on YouTube, why not? It's really good. The button will be where the button always is. If you click on that and hit the little bell, you'll never miss a single video, and think about how much better your life will be as a result. A small amount, I would predict. Anyway, though, the magazine, the brand new one featuring England's Lionesses and the Women's World Cup preview, is available from all good retailers, and not forgetting the crap ones as well. In the meantime, though, thank you so much for watching. Please do grab me on Twitter at Adam Cleary, CLERY. Get the entire 442 social spectrum at 442, and I am going to open a window in here because it's really hot. Goodbye.